Hello and welcome back to Three Princesses in a Muggle World. My name is Jenny, and I am joined, as always, by my two best friends and co hosts.
Hi everyone, it's Amber.
And Kasey, welcome.
Welcome to this very special podcast. If you are listening on the day that it drops, you will notice that we are dropping this podcast on a day that we don't usually drop podcasts.
Yeah, we are dropping it on Mother's Day because we want to take the day to recognize mothers. And I would like to say that while yes, we are going to be talking about some of our favorite fictional mothers, we do want to give a shout out to all the listeners who are mothers, as well as I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty proud of my mama, and I love my mom. So, shout out to her as well.
Yes, and I want to give a shout out to my mom. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Love you.
I'll shout out my mom, even though she's probably not listening. And I'm also going to shout out one very particularly special Disney mom, our co host Amber, who has the cutest little child ever. And she does everything that she can to be the best mom for her. So, happy Mother's Day, Amber.
I was gonna say, out of the three of us, Amber is the only mother, unless you call the fact that I have a cat makes me a mom. It does not. But yes, if anybody ever sees Amber's little girl, you'll just know how delightfully adorable she is, and how her and Amber makes everybody's day now whenever they go to Disneyland.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up. I forgot to kind of talk about it a little bit last podcast. But I don't know if you guys remember at the very end of March Madness, I mentioned that my daughter and I were going to start making thank yous to take to the Disney cast members. And because of a lot of the controversial stuff and like the material side of Disney, like with the erasing of ticket prices, different things like that, I was starting to lose some of the magic for me. And to be totally honest, like I was trying to have the magic be there, but also mostly because my daughter loves it and that she doesn't understand the whole like frustration that I was feeling. But these last two times when we've been handing out the thank yous to the cast members, it has totally brought the magic back for me. And it has been amazing seeing their reactions and just making somebody else's day, as well as it has also like we've had people then give stuff to us and make our day in return, and it's been great. And so for all of our listeners, if you don't do thank yous for the cast members, you should do them.
Amber and I did a podcast a while ago. Kasey was out of town, but we did one talking about cast members and how special they have made us feel throughout the years. And cast members have gone through a lot with COVID and everything. Some of them are still just barely coming back to work. So, if you guys do have any great cast member stories that you want us to share on the air, if we're calling it that, for our podcast, or via TikTok, or any of our different social medias, Amber has learned that cast members do watch those things and would appreciate those thank you. And not just the characters either, but like the cast members that you see, they're still in costume and they are still acting, but just because it's not Tinkerbell or Mickey Mouse does not mean that they're not just as important.
Yeah. One of my videos actually went extremely viral. Was not expecting it to get as many views as it has gotten, and that. And so And then the other one didn't get quite as many views, but it's gotten a lot of views as well. And people started wanting to hear the stories of these cast members. And so I started posting the stories and that behind the thank yous type thing. And it was very extremely exciting for me when after sharing one of the stories, that cast member actually found saw that TikTok and commented on it. And I was just like, "Oh my gosh." Like he actually found it. And so it does mean a lot to them. Like he said, and he's like, "I try to make sure I bring the magic for everybody," and it was so sweet and amazing to then receive a little bit of the magic back. And just I've been going out of my way to watch these cast members and not just their reactions with their how they treat my child, but just how they treat everybody there. And it's been kind of fun being like, oh hey, that person just did something extremely special for somebody. Let's go tell them thank you. And like I said, it's brought the magic back for me so much. And so I highly recommend doing it.
And me being a former cast member, I just want to let you guys know that even if you can't go out of your way to make thank you cards or take treats or anything like that to them, if you just find one of the managers, and as I said before, they're the ones that are actually dressed kind of normally, they're the ones that are dressed all nice and fancy and stuff like that, and they'll usually have like a microphone attached to their body somewhere. If you find one of those managers and say, hey, so and so over here did this for me, they will get a nice comment towards them. And I never received one of those, but I was always really jealous when one of my co-cast members did. So,
Yeah. They, like I said, they love receiving them, re being told thank you even. Like, you don't even have to, give them anything. Just tell them thank you. And something else that has really been awesome for me is I've made sure that at least one thank you each time has gone to one of the custodial workers because, I didn't realize until I specifically started watching for them how many there are and where they're all at. And if you think about it, Disney is such a clean place. There's hardly any litter, and even if you see litter, there's a cast member right there preparing to pick it up type thing. Like they are everywhere and often they don't get told thank you. And that the first day that we were handing out the thank yous, we gave one to one of the custodial workers, and I legit thought he was gonna start crying. And it just was so heartwarming to see how much that thank you meant to him, because that they don't get thanked very often. And so, like I said, even if you can't make cards, make cookies, because we did cookies one of the times as well, even if you can't do anything like that, just saying the words thank you to that cast member that is sweeping up the grounds will make their day.
and I could get into the whole logistics of why Disneyland is so clean, but I think that will be a conversation for another podcast because today we are talking about mothers. And
Yes.
we have all taken the opportunity to pick two mothers, one from Disney and one from Harry Potter, that we want to talk about. And we hope that as we briefly talk about mothers, that you guys think about the mother in your life, whether she is the woman who gave you birth or whether she is the person who stepped into your life as that motherly figure. And Kasey, how about you start us off?
All right. Do we want to hit Disney or Harry Potter first?
You pick.
Surprise us.
All right, I'll talk about my Harry Potter one. So I kind of chose a character that is a strong mother figure, but not necessarily one people would immediately go to when they think of good mothers from Harry Potter, which is why I chose her. And I chose Narcissa Malfoy. And this is Draco Malfoy's mother, Lucius's wife, who she's popped up a couple of times. We've talked about her a couple of times. She was definitely in the March Madness. I think she's just such a strong mother because of how much she absolutely loves and adores, both her husband and her son. And people think she's bad, she's evil, she goes along with Voldemort, but she really doesn't. She's there, yes, she supports her husband as he supports Voldemort, but you never get the sense that she herself supports Voldemort. She's just kind of there to make sure her husband and her child get out alive. And we really see how much she goes to protect Draco, especially. We see that in, what is it? I think it's Order of the Phoenix. Is that the one I'm thinking of, where she's really taking a close eye and she does the unbreakable vow?
That is
That's Half-Blood Prince.
Half-Blood. Half-Blood.
Or is that Half-Blood Prince? So she, in Half-Blood Prince, Lucius, I believe, is in Azkaban at the time because of what he did in the Ministry. And Draco has kind of decided that he's going to step up and fill his shoes. And Narcissa wants absolutely that not to happen. So she tries to keep a real close eye on him. She doesn't let him out of her sight, which Harry notices. And she goes to Severus Snape, begging him to protect her boy. And she goes as far as making him do an unbreakable vow, which I think it just kills you if you break it. But that is all she has in her life is being that mother. And I mean, Draco's not always the best character. He's got a lot of flaws, but you can tell just how much she loved him. And she looks right in Voldemort's face at the end, lies to him that Harry's dead so that she can make sure her son gets out. So I think she's a great mother. Maybe not a good person, but she's a great mother.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. I believe there's a meme out there somewhere that says Harry was saved by a mother's love 3 times.
Yep.
Yep.
Lily.
And that was his own mother, Molly, and Narcissa.
And what's interesting, I think this has been brought up before, I think she's the only one in the Death Eater circle that's not actually a Death Eater.
Yeah.
I don't think she has the dark mark or anything. She's literally just there to make sure her husband doesn't die and her son doesn't die. Which I find very interesting considering her sister Bellatrix is so pro Death Eater, pro Voldemort. I just find that very interesting that Narcissa is just over here whatever, as long as I got Draco alive, I really don't care.
I feel like the 3 Black sisters, because that was their maiden names, I feel like she's kind of like the middle of them because we have Andromeda Black, who we more commonly known as Andromeda Black Tonks, as in Nymphadora Tonks' mom, who fell in love with, was he a Muggleborn? I believe he was.
Yes, he's Muggleborn.
Yeah, and then you have Bellatrix, who is just crazy and all about the power, and then you have Narcissa, and she's kind of right in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Amber, do you want to pick one of your mothers to talk about? That sounds weird, like you have more than one mom.
Well, in a way, I kind of do, because I do have a mother-in-law, which I forgot to give her a shout out. I love my mother-in-law. But I'm gonna go with the Disney side of it, and let's be honest, Disney moms are very hard to come by.
Yes.
Because a lot of the Disney characters are orphaned, and the ones that aren't, we don't really see a lot of their moms. Like, for example, with Rapunzel, and that we don't know a whole lot about her mom.
Her real mom, not Mother Gothel.
Yes. Not Mother Gothel. Mother Gothel would never be on the list of mothers from Disney that I would ever talk about for Mother's Day. But
You know what? He was frequently on lists when I was doing research, which I found
I'm
interesting.
sure she was. But I don't agree. So, it was very hard to come by I like a mom to talk about on the Disney side of it, but I ended up deciding on Mrs. Jumbo, and and she is Dumbo's mom, and that she is an elephant, cartoon elephant at that, because I'm going to go with the cartoon version, not the live action. Um, and I think that, she's actually a pretty amazing mom, and that, because the minute that Dumbo was dropped off to her, she loved him. She did not care that his ears were big. Like, she was like, "You're my kid. I don't care." And that, like, the other elephants were like, "Oh my goodness, he's got big ears." And she actually, like, slams the little divider thing down so that they can't actually interact with them. And she ends up being thrown into like the cell and that uh, and called a mad elephant because she didn't like people picking on her son. And one of my favorite songs is Baby Mine. And I used to sing that to my daughter. I used to sing that one to my daughter all the time in the NICU, and because that was one thing that when you have a baby in the NICU, there's not a whole lot you can do for them, and you feel very helpless. And so singing to her was one of the only things I could do, and Baby Mine was one of my favorite ones to sing to her. And that because I already knew, she's on the smaller side. She He's gonna get teased. And one of the biggest struggles we have is with the doctors constantly nagging about how small she is and how I need to do more to help her grow better and different things like that. And so like the line, like, if they only knew, sweet little you, like, just resonates with me so much because I feel like the doctors just are looking at a number on a chart and not at my child. And so I picked Mrs. Jumbo because of the fact that I actually feel like I relate to her a lot and that as a mother. And so I love of her character and the fact that, you know, she is all about trying to get the best life for her child. So that's Mrs. Jumbo.
It's really sad. That's a really sad story. It's one of those sad stories of Disney.
It ends happy. They're reunited at the end.
I'm just glad she survives it. Like you said, a lot of Disney mothers don't.
Yeah.
This kind of goes back, if you listen to our previous episode where we talk about, Star Wars and stuff. We talked about how it's kind of a requirement for a lot of main characters to be orphans in some form. So a lot of times it does go to the mother. A lot of times it's the mother's been killed off, and that's why, and like, dad's just not in the picture or whatever, or dead too. So yeah, like Amber said, it's hard. It was hard to find in the Disney, which is why I think kind of me and Jenny cheated slightly with our choices. Um, but anyway, Jenny, who do you want to talk about first?
Okay, so because you started with Harry Potter and then Amber went Disney, I'm gonna make a Harry Potter sandwich here.
All right.
Which it's really funny because I was just looking at our choices for Harry Potter, and I've actually already talked about all three of them because they're the three mothers that have saved Harry. So I just thought that that was kind of interesting. I did pick Lily Evans. First of all, I think it is a crime that we do not know that much about her time at Hogwarts. I was going to say that we don't know that much about her, but we actually really do know quite a bit about her. But let's just settle on the fact that Lily and James were very, very young when they got married and had Harry. They were both 20, I believe. And like Lily, we all just know that she was just an amazing mom. And I know that it just could not have been easy for her because they were probably, well, not probably, they were in hiding that whole time. So she didn't really have the support of, a lot of other people in her life. I don't know if it is a written fact or not, but in my fan fiction, Lily's parents both died, so she didn't even have her mom to like rely on when she was having a child, which I am single and I don't have any kids of my own, but I have seen my siblings have kids, and my mom always makes it a point to go up and stay with the new mom, no matter how many times she's been a new mom before, and, makes sure that she is there for them to support them. And then let's not forget the fact that Lily did die for her son. Like, Quirrell could not touch Harry in the Sorcerer's Stone because he was being protected by his mother's love. And that is a very powerful strand of magic. At least that's what Dumbledore tells us. And so it's just really amazing to me that like Lily was able to do that. And the thing is, and I'm sure a lot of people can say this about my mom. Well, about, yes, my mom personally, but no, about their mom is like, my mom would die for me, just like Lily died for Harry. And like, whenever I'm having a hard time, my mom starts having a hard time because she's stressing out about me. And I just love that pure love that my mom has and that Lily Evans Potter obviously had as well.
Yeah, I'm reading Deathly Hollows right now, and I'm in the chapter where Harry gets to see from Voldemort's point of view how his parents die, which is heartbreaking in its own. But it talks about how Lily stood firm in the way, saying, "Please take me instead, take me and leave Harry alone." And that just goes to show how much love she had for her son and what she was willing to give up to protect him.
So, Amber, would you sacrifice yourself for your daughter?
Ooh, that's personal.
I was going to say,
Absolutely.
you don't have to answer it.
For me, what kind of hit home for me was when you were talking about like how your mom goes and that goes to stay with your siblings and that when they have a child. And for me, that was something that was wholly awesome of that my mom was able to be there for me because I was going through all those complications and I had been told that my child wasn't going to survive and that and it broke my heart hearing those words, and I was so grateful that my mom was able to be there for me. And my mom, when I called and told her, she was at work when I called and told her I was going to be delivering in the next, like, later that week, and she walked in. She had been talking with all of her teachers because she works at a school, so they all kind of knew what was going on. But literally, she walked back into the classroom and said, "I'm leaving. I don't know when I will be back," and walked out and booked a flight and was there that night. And so that was something that, when you were talking about that, I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have my mother. And so if Lily didn't have her mom around, that breaks my heart because I don't know what I would do without her. To be vulnerable, be personal for a moment, when you asked, like, if I would sacrifice myself for my child, my husband and I, we actually had that conversation and stuff that we talked about, like, if it came down to it and, the doctor, for whatever reason, and something happened and he could only save one of us, that we wanted it to be our child. And I told him, save the child if that's what it comes down to. And so, that's not an easy thing to say, and that's not an easy conversation to have. And I hope that, you know, most moms don't have to have that conversation, but that was a conversation we had to have because of the complications I was having. And that's part of being a mom, though. You're willing to do almost anything for your child. And so Lily was definitely, as a character, I definitely looked up to her.
Okay, so to get a little out of this somber mood, Kasey, how about you tell us your Disney mom?
Oh, I don't know if we're getting out of a somber mood with this one. So, like I said, this one was really hard, and I'm kind of cheating a little bit, as I'm going into the Marvel universe, which I mean is Disney, but also not Disney. And I choose Frigga, Thor's mother, Thor and Loki's mother, because she is an incredibly strong character, but also an incredibly strong mother. Um, so Thor is her biological child with Odin, and then Loki is her adoptive son. And growing up, it kind of seemed, I mean, she loved both of her children very much. She loved Thor and Loki equally. But when I was reading into her background a little bit more, she noticed that Thor was kind of the golden child, and he was always the one forefront with everything, especially with Odin. And she didn't want Loki to fall into the shadow. So she really took Loki under her wing. She's the one who taught him all of his magic, all of his little trickster things that he does. And this is not an ordinary child. Loki is technically a frost giant. And I believe at this time they were kind of enemies. But Odin brought home this little frost giant baby. Frigga took one look at him and was like, yep, all right, this is my baby now. And she loved him from that day forward as her own. She raised him, she taught him, her magic because she grew up with witches so that he would be his own person. He could stand out against Thor as his own person and not just be Thor's brother or Odin's son, that he would be Loki, his own person. So I love her for that. And she never gave up on Loki, even when he kind of rebelled against the family and when he was locked up on Asgard, she would still visit and bring him stuff and make him comfortable. And her love didn't just end, with her kids. She gave her life trying to defend Jane Foster, who she didn't know. She just knew that Thor loved her, and that was good enough for her. So I absolutely love her as a character and as a mother.
So when you said that she looked at little baby Loki and was like, yes, this is my child now, it reminded me of Carla from Tarzan, how she looked at this human little baby, and humans were known to kill, apes,
I
gorillas.
I almost went with her, to be honest, because again, that was another one where it's just like, okay, this is a little baby.
Yeah.
This baby needs me. This is not my baby, but it is now because they need a mother and they need love, and that's going to come from me. I almost chose her, but
You'll be in my heart.
I almost chose her too. And that is, that's another song that I really like.
I did not choose her, and quite honestly, the one that I chose, not that it's my turn, but I chose her for my own reasons before I even really started thinking very deeply into this. And now I'm like sitting here and I'm like, oh, and there's Elastigirl. Like she's a great Disney mom, but
I almost chose her too.
I was kind of surprised that Jenny didn't choose her.
I love Elastigirl. But anyways, Amber, how about you give us your Harry Potter mom?
This is Kasey from the future editing the podcast, and for some reason, Amber's intro got cut off here, so she's talking about Molly Weasley. That is her Harry Potter Disney mom pick. So let's see what she has to say about her.
Reason mom to her kids, and she was a great motherly figure to Harry, and that like she took him in and was like, yeah, you're part of my family now, like, and she is very caring. She gave up a lot for her kids. Like he raised each one of them, and was proud of each one of them, and for each accomplishment. Like it would be like, oh my gosh, you reached this accomplishment. I'm so proud of you. We have to celebrate it. And even when like Percy basically denounced the family, she still worried about him. She still prayed for him, and that in the book,
She still made him sweaters and then he would send them back.
yeah, and in the book she goes to face the Boggart. In the 5th book, she goes to face the Boggart that is locked in the drawer or of a desk at Grimmauld Place. And, you know, Boggarts show us our worst fears. And Harry walked in to see the Boggart, like, transform into each one of the kids and her husband. And you know, it didn't matter that Percy didn't want anything to do with her. His body was still one of the ones that showed up with the Boggart because she still was so afraid of losing him. And just she is an amazing mom. And like I said, like she knits her kids sweaters, and and she does other little things for them that, you know, a lot of people would probably take for granted. And but it just goes to show that she loves her kids. And that's why I think she's a pretty amazing mom.
So I sent you guys this, I think via Marco Polo, but some people are like, what if all of Molly's kids weren't her own? What if some of them were her brother's kids? Because her brothers did end up passing away during the first Wizarding World War. And I think we all agreed that, like, first of all, that would make total sense, but then also, Molly would just accept them as her own. Like, there would be no differentiating, like, oh, you're my kids or you're my adopted kids. They would just all be one happy family.
Yeah, I absolutely love Molly. And there was this old post on Tumblr that talked about just how much that she saw Harry Potter, who, you know, he's a celebrity in the Wizarding world. Everyone stops and stares at him, but she's just like, you know what? That's a boy who needs a mother. He's gonna be mine now. And there was this post that went on because, you know, when we first see her in the story, I don't know if it's in the book, it's been a while, but definitely in the movie, she walks by Harry, she's like, oh, now what's that platform number again? And that doesn't make sense, right? She knows the platform number, right? She's got 2 kids there. She's got 2 kids going there soon. She knows what platform it is. But people were like theorizing that she didn't want to just go up to Harry and like embarrass him, like, oh, do you know where you're going? Let me help you. So she kind of made it a point to just, what's that platform number? Yelling, you know, near Harry. And she talks about muggles and stuff. And someone says, I pulled it up. I have a headcanon that Molly Weasley saw a scrawny, underfed child with an owl who had no idea where he was going, looking lost and confused, and said, "Ah, yep, new son," but didn't want to scare him outright by approaching and asking me to need help. So instead, she went, "Muggles, muggles everywhere. Does everyone know what the platform number to Hogwarts School is? The Wizarding School? That's right, 9 3/4? Okay. All right, the platform number, 9 3/4." And of course, Harry isn't the most observant bloke, so she's ushering her kids past him 50 times at different ones, screaming the platform number until they finally get his attention. And I love that. I totally see that, because again, that doesn't make sense that she's announcing Muggles everywhere, what's the platform number, unless she's trying to get someone's attention.
Yeah, I like that theory.
I agree. Okay, so as everybody already knows, I am single and I am the aunt of soon to be 8 nieces and nephews. And why do I say this? Because I just want to say that sometimes a mother doesn't necessarily need to be your mom. And I believe that me as an aunt, even though I am not a mom, I deserve some recognition. Um, and so, anyways, for some reason in my head, that brings us to Nani, who is Lilo's big sister. And yes, she does very much serve that mother spot in Lilo's life. So from Lilo and Stitch. So if it's been a while since you've seen Lilo and Stitch, pretty much what happens is their parents died in a car crash. It was raining and they died. And that's why Lilo has to feed Pudge the fish because he controls the weather. Anyways, so I have seen so many great posts about Nani and what she has done for Lilo. She has given up like so much of her life. Like you can see in her bedroom when Lilo like comes in with Stitch and is like, "Nani, look," and like he like plays Elvis. But you can see in the background that like she was on her way to being like a master surfer and she like had to give that up because she was parenting Lilo and a lot of other things, and not to mention the fact that Lilo and Stitch are the reason why Nani loses her job at the luau. But instead of Nani being like, "Yeah, this is like totally your fault," she's like, "No, I think he's a vampire, you know, and he wanted me to join his Legion of the Undead." And Lilo's like, "I knew it." And Um, just all the different things that like Nani has done for Lilo and like the scene that probably will always break my heart just a little bit is when Mr. Bubbles is like taking Lilo away because the aliens just destroyed their house. And Nani's just like, "Nobody's gonna understand her like I do," and stuff like that. Like it's just really, really sad because she really does care for Lilo, and she is trying her hardest to keep them afloat. And sometimes it's hard because sometimes life is just hard. But I mean, even the fact that like she lets Lilo keep Stitch, like yeah, she's kind of against it because Stitch is really creepy, but she's like, this kid needs a friend, and if this creepy dog is gonna be her friend, then so be it. And she just kind of like accepts it. I just think that that's just amazing. Honestly, I think it would be hard to, suddenly have to be a mother, like out of nowhere.
Yeah, I I agree. Absolutely love Nani, and actually, I wanted to pick her, and then I saw you did, and then I had to, yeah. But something I want to point out is Nani is just a kid herself. Like I think she's like 18 or 19 in the movie. She's just a kid herself, and if you think back to when you were 19, you still needed your mom for a lot of stuff. I mean, heck, I still need my mom now. And she had to push that aside. She had to push aside her grief of dealing with her parents suddenly not here and really step up for Lilo. But she did it because of how much she loved her and didn't want to lose her. So I absolutely love the character of Nani, and she definitely, gets the title of mother here.
Yeah.
I also need to just point out that my sister, even though she's not my mom and I do have a great mom and I do not need anybody to replace my mom, my sister was always a really good person for me to look up to. And her life hasn't been the easiest. She is pregnant with her fourth child right now, and I am just so happy for her and to see her become a mom. She became a mom of twins, and they kind of went through a lot of the same thing that Amber went through. The twins came really early, and it was really scary for our family. But I just wanted to point out that my sister is amazing, and I don't think she even listens to my podcast. But if she does, I just want her to know how much I look up to her, as well as my other sister-in-law, who also is the mom of 4, and it's been amazing to see her grow as well as a mother.
Yeah. So ultimately, this podcast is just to be able to say Happy Mother's Day to all the amazing mothers, both in reality and in fiction, because even though some of these moms are fictional characters, and that, like I've said as a mom myself, I relate to a lot of them, and I even look up to some of them, and that like which seems weird to say, but oh, these characters are a part of our lives, and so it's okay to be like, hey, I look up to Molly Weasley, and and so we just want to make sure that the moms out there just know how amazing they really are, and I'd also like to give a shout out to all the moms who never actually got to hold their kids for whatever reason, and all the moms that like have lost a child, because they're others too, even if they might not have a child physically with them, and they go through a lot, and it's not easy. So shout out to you guys as well, and all you moms out there, stay strong. You're doing a great job.
And please let us know in the comments, either on this podcast or on the post that I am sure will be popping up on Facebook / all of our social medias today. And by today, I mean Mother's Day. Let us know about your mom, or even about a mom that you love from either the Harry Potter universe or the Disney universe, and why.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yep. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. Bye.
Happy Mother's Day!